Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started. Good afternoon, folks. This is Omar Serrato of the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. And a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by a couple of guests, co-hosts, to direct our conversation into what just happened this weekend. And this is not about politics. This is not a political show. Some have been surprised that I'm even covering the subject matter because of the political implications. I don't care who anybody is voting for. I'm not even sure who I'm going to be voting for. I'm certainly not going to be sharing who I think anybody should be voting for. This is just simply a state of the union as to the state of American politics and what in the hell is going on with everything that just happened on Sunday. So I'm sure you guys have seen the thumbnail picture of this live. And it depicts Donald Trump in a very triumphant pose. I am certain that you guys are going to see that picture displayed loud and proud over the next 4 to 5 months on campaign, posters, advertisements. It was an iconic picture. It's the kind of image that will be remembered for hundreds of years, if not more. And pardon me, folks, while I fix my lighting. That is much better. It's the kind of image that is going to endure long after we're gone as a hallmark of what the political landscape was like in America. In 2024, July of 2024. So just to set the stage, it was a political rally, just like every other political rally that Donald Trump has been a part of over the course of, going back to 2014 now, is when he started having ideas that he was going to start running for office. And then he does run for office and he beats Hillary. He gets in office and we have 4 years of Donald Trump. And for whatever you think of his politics, he was our president. He gets overrun by Joe Biden. There's all these histrionics about voter fraud and voter tampering, and there's criminal charges and indictments and grand juries and all kinds of stuff. And it come to find out, we just had a national debate aired, and to be honest with you, I was so ready to just be checked out. It's like, you know what? I'm not voting for anybody. I don't care what's going on. I don't know anything about who I'm going to vote for, or do I particularly care? I was so disgusted just at the prospect that it's been, 8 years now, and there's been nobody else to step up other than Donald Trump from the Republican Party. And the fact that Joe Biden is literally having medical issues, appears to be in the early stages of dementia, possibly suffering from Parkinson's disease, and they're just running him right back up there. It just left me really disgusted with the palette of choices for the American people going into 2024, such that I was ready to be checked out of all of it. It's like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this. And so here we are, and we have this rally on Sunday. And I was on a mini vacation with the wife. We were up in Pismo Beach, and we were enjoying a dinner. It wasn't Sunday morning. It was Saturday afternoon. And just checking the news. Holy shit. I think that they just tried to assassinate Donald Trump. My first inclination was, this is sensationalized journalism. It probably wasn't all of that, or, whatever. These kinds of reports have come out before. Matter of fact, back in 2020, there was a similar kind of report, and it turned out to be a big nothing burger. K-Rob says, It is not the early stages. It's been obvious since 2019, even though Dems have been hiding it. I know that, K-Rab. I know that. I know. My only point in saying that is that my head has been buried in the sand because I was just really hoping that we were going to have, some different slate of candidates to choose from. And, then this national debate rolls around and you see Biden up there stumbling around and, fumbling over his words and calling the Ukrainian president Putin and all of these things. And I know that we're literally 4 months from an actual election where we're going to decide another president. I've just been disappointed with all of it. I know how far advanced we are in the game. I was just disappointed. But here we are. So we have this assassination attempt. And you come from that with these iconic images of Trump defiantly raising his fist, mouthing the words to fight, 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 with blood streaming from his ear, smeared across his cheek as he's being ushered away by the Secret Service. And you have this kid, this 20-year-old kid, there's to this day, to this hour, literally, nobody's uncovered a motive for why he's done what he did. Nobody. But he's on a roof. He was within 150 yards of the president. The going story from the Secret Service is that he was outside of their security perimeter. I don't know if you realize how short of a distance 150 yards is. I mean, that's literally a pitching wedge on the golf course. Literally one of the weakest clubs, and you just, pitch it over there 150 yards and you're on the green. That's how far it was. And he had a clean shot. He literally was set up. It's not like he was in a ghillie in a sniper's nest. He wasn't really particularly hidden at all. There was people in the general public that had eyeballed him long before he ever got off that shot. There was people trying to alert law enforcement. It seemed like the Secret Service had a couple of snipers literally peering into that area where this young man was before he decided to take the shot. And they didn't do anything about it. The roof was literally white. There was no camouflage whatsoever. He stood out like a sore thumb. I mean, he literally was like a highlighted letter in the midst of a page of random text. He could not have been more ubiquitous to anybody that was interested in security. Not to mention, I know that Megan Fox just did a live, and there's been a lot of mention about the women that were part of the Secret Service. They were having trouble holstering their weapons. They happen to be significantly shorter than the president. How are they supposed to get in front of Donald Trump, who is, I believe he's like 6'4", 6'5", or something like that? The level of security detail was lacking. The skill set of the individuals closest to the president seemed to be severely lacking. You literally had two snipers positioned seemingly in the direction of that young man. It looked to me like they were eyeballing him. And if they had him in the scope, the young man was literally in the prone position on his belly with his AR rifle, peering down the scope, lining up a shot, and then he gets one off. And then that's when everybody reacts. Like, the shots were instantaneous. I mean, you guys have all seen the clips. Lauren, I hope that's not what you heard. By the way, at some point, hopefully Lauren's going to be joining us. She might be finishing up her dinner. So all I'm saying is there's been a rich history of assassination attempts on presidential candidates. There hasn't been a meaningful assassination attempt since 1981. Folks, I was an infant. I'm talking about Ronald Reagan. And even that was not like some obvious sniper position. I don't know how many of you all play Call of Duty, but there's like obvious camping spots where snipers usually go, and they think that they're being slick, but everybody knows that those are the spots, and so they always get shot like right away. This guy was in one of those spots, not even hidden by a shadow, not even hidden behind some kind of a cardboard, whatever, just out there. chilling with like the crowd, and nobody did anything about it. And if indeed he was outside beyond the boundaries of the Secret Service security perimeter, why was it only 150 yards? You know how close that is? Ladies and gentlemen, I have to introduce the legendary lethal Lauren 904 clinical psychologist to offer her expertise, perhaps into the mindset of this young man, Thomas Crooks, who has been identified and has been identified to be the culprit of the fateful bullets that attempted to take the life of former President Donald Trump, maybe future president again. May I introduce to you the lethal Lauren 904, Lauren Neidigh. How you
Hey,
doing, Lauren?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. That was a very nice introduction. I just want to remind people I'm not a doctor, so don't take my stuff as medical advice. I'm a psych evaluator. I work in an ER. So anything that I say is obviously not a, like a medical diagnosis. Let's put it that way.
I tend to embellish my introductions, so
That's
never
cool, man.
mind me. Pardon
That's
me
cool.
for trying to blow up Lauren with her
Oh no,
qualifications.
you're good. You're
Um,
good.
either way, oh, that was a severe party foul. I almost spilt my whiskey.
Oh no.
Yeah. So okay, let's just Lauren. Do you know how far 150 yards is? Do you play golf? Have you ever?
No, I swam. So yeah,
So
it's like six
150
pools.
yards, it's
Yeah.
literally like the distance of a football field and a half.
Yeah.
It's like from one end of a football stadium to the other from top row to top row.
Hmm.
It's you could literally see people at 150 yards with your naked eyes with no problems. You could probably make out details, those with good sight. And that's how far the shot was. The guy, the young kid, was approximately that distance, and that was outside of the security perimeter. Now, here's my point in this. Here's my point. We are no strangers to political assassination attempts.
Hmm.
There's a rich history of American presidents and successful attempts. Abraham Lincoln being the most obvious and most famous,
Right.
way back in 1865, as he sat and he watched on a Good Friday on April 14th, 1865, at the famous Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. At around 10:15 p.m., he's assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. A massive manhunt ensues, and they hunt him down, and like he was hiding in some barn, and they burned it down, and they got him. But that was the most famous. He was shot, and then there's pictures of him um, that it's questionable whether or not it's been authenticated, but there's literally images of him where you can see kind of his eye bulging out from
Oh,
his wounds. He died
yikes.
a short time later. James Garfield, the assassination of him, the 20th president of the United States. That began at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in DC on July 2nd, 1881. It was 4 months after he took office. Now, he was shot. He was arriving at a train station, and he was shot twice by writer and lawyer Charles Guiteau with a 442 caliber Webley British Bulldog revolver. One bullet grazed his shoulder, the other pierced his back. And it took about 11 weeks for him trying to recover from that injury before he finally succumbed to his injuries. William McKinley, back in 1901 at 4:07 p.m. at the Temple of Music in Buffalo, New York. He was attending a Pan American exposition, was shot twice in the abdomen at close range by Leon Chalshik, who was an anarchist who was armed with a 32 caliber Liver Johnson safety automatic revolver that was concealed underneath a handkerchief. Security was much more lax back then.
Yeah, I
Uh,
bet. No, were there metal detectors or anything like that? How long ago was that?
that was back in 1901.
So
So there
no.
wouldn't be metal detectors. So you could literally hide a firearm under a handkerchief, as he did.
Yikes.
He took out McKinley.
I didn't remember that
JFK.
one.
Oh, well, I wouldn't imagine you would. It was a little bit before your time,
Well, no, I
before
wasn't
my.
there for it, dude. But like, I mean, I don't remember learning about that one. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, McKinley was not a memorable president, I guess. That's what I would
Okay.
say to that. But
That
as the
works.
story goes, the first bullet ricocheted off either a button or an award medal on McKinley's jacket and lodged in his sleeve. The second shot pierced his stomach. And although McKinley initially appeared to be recovering, his condition rapidly declined because, gangrene and medical technology wasn't what it is today. There's, of course, the JFK assassination, but what about the unsuccessful attempts? There was literally an attempt on Theodore Roosevelt. I believe it was in 1912. He was running for literally a third term in office. He was president from 1900 to 1908. He sat out a term. Everybody wanted him to run for a third term. He said, no, I'm going to honor the 2-term thing. And then he tries to run again. He's giving a speech in public, and back then there's no microphones. And Theodore Roosevelt, if you've never studied his oratory abilities, is one of the greatest orators of the 19th, 20th century, whatever. But he was shot in the chest, and it hit him in his speech, and the bullet lodged like an inch deep in his chest or something like that, and it continued and finished his speech, very much in the same vein as Donald Trump, who gets up and triumphantly makes this pose and, fight, and all of that. And interestingly, I have to say, for whatever your feelings about Donald Trump, you have to say this about him. Teddy Roosevelt was, in my opinion, my very uneducated opinion, probably the greatest politician that there ever was. And Donald Trump, I'm not saying that he's of the same vein, but in terms of just sheer political skill, rivals Teddy Roosevelt. Think about it. The guy came from nothing. He completely just usurped an entire party, took it over, and nobody has been able to overcome him since, despite all of the misgivings that people have had, despite all of the historical, under normal circumstances, reasons why he wouldn't vote for somebody for office. He's overcome all of it. The grabber by the privates and the, his.
I remember that one. Yeah.
All of that. Teflon Don. He's literally been shot in the face now.
Yeah,
and true. Believe me, you're going to hear a lot about that on his campaign trail going forward.
If you get shot in the face, why wouldn't you bring it up as often as possible? Like, look at me, I'm indestructible.
Especially when you run against a guy who appears to be on his way out, who literally may
that's
have
painful.
not only just dementia, but Parkinson's and a host of other stuff. FDR, there was, I want to say there was a unsuccessful attempt on FDR, or at least a plot. Yeah, on February 15th, 1933, about 17 days after Roosevelt's first presidential inauguration, Giuseppe Zingara, do you remember him? Of course you do. He fired 5 shots at Roosevelt in Miami, Florida. Zingara's shots missed the president-elect, but Zingara did mortally wound Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak and injured 4 of the people. I remember reading about him or hearing about him in a documentary, in the famous The Roosevelts documentary. And he was just this impoverished guy who just kind of lost his mind. There was a plot to kill Harry Truman way back in 1947. They had been plotting to, there had been documents about people plotting to assassinate JFK. I'm going back to like 1960. There was a plot to assassinate Richard Nixon back in 1972. Gerald Ford, his successor, back in 1974, there was plots to assassinate him. There was a plot to take out Jimmy Carter back in 1979. There was stuff that they found out that people were plotting to take out George H.W. Bush. And that never came to fruition. There was a plot that was discovered to assassinate Bill Clinton. There was another one to assassinate George W. There's been multiple plots that were uncovered to take out Barack Obama. In December of 2008, a United States Marine, guy by the name of Cody Ray Brittingham, stationed at Camp Lejeune, wrote that he had taken an oath to protect against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and signed a letter of intent identifying President-elect Obama as a domestic enemy. A search of his barracks uncovered a journal containing white supremacist material. Not that much further after that, about 5 months later, in April 2009, there was another plot to assassinate Obama at the Alliance of Civilizations Summit in Istanbul, Turkey. And there's a long laundry list of that kind of stuff. This isn't the first plot that has come to fruition with respect to Mr. Trump. The first that we know about was in September 6th of 2017. A guy by the name of Gregory Lee Liangang, I think that's how you pronounce it, was a 42-year-old guy from Bismarck, North Dakota. He attempted to assassinate President Donald Trump in Mandan, North Dakota. I don't know if you even remember that, but
I
there was
don't
some.
actually. I've totally this totally slipped my mind.
Well, when he was visiting the state for a public rally, he stole a forklift from an oil refinery, drove towards the presidential motorcade, and after the forklift became jammed within the refinery, he fled on foot and was arrested by the pursuing police. He wasn't that artful in his plots. He just kind of
Wow.
did the just said, screw it, I'm just gonna run at him and see
A
what happens.
forklift. What was going to happen with the forklift? It was just going to run into the car and
I don't know, man, but
and then what?
While he was in detention, he admitted his intent to murder the president by flipping the presidential limousine with a stolen forklift. Do you know how fortified that limousine is? Even if it gets flipped over,
Yeah.
I don't think that's doing much.
How
I
big was
doubt
that forklift, dude? It's like,
I mean, forklifts are pretty powerful. I'd imagine it was
Yeah.
maybe you could lift 1,500 pounds, but that presidential limo is probably close to 5,000 pounds with as fortified as it is,
yeah.
bulletproof glass and all that kind of stuff. He's trying to for personal use. The man pled guilty to the attempted attack. That wasn't all. So a couple months later, in 2017, a man affiliated with the Islamic State. You remember back then, there was all this big deal about Trump closing the borders from people from known Islamic states. So this guy who affiliated with the Islamic State, who his name was never revealed, was arrested by the Philippine National Police in Rizal Park, Manila, for reportedly planning to take out Trump during the diplomatic ASEAN Summit, ASEAN Summit. And the week prior to the failed killing, Secret Service already suspected a planned assault on the president because of the general presence of the IS in the Philippines and because of threats of many people against the president on social media. And then as recently as obviously the 13th, just this year, Thomas Matthew Crooks. There has not been a motive uncovered as to why he did it. In other words, he's a registered Republican. Back when he was like 17 years old, when he was 17 years old, he donated $15 to a Democratic cause. Just a couple of years ago, man. I mean, he's a 20-year-old kid. I remember when I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old. It was the first time that I was ever able to vote in an election. This kid, this would have been the first time he was legally able to vote in a presidential election. I don't remember what my affiliation was back then. I think I was a registered Republican, but I voted for Al Gore.
Gotcha.
I don't know why. I didn't like Bush. I don't remember what my reasoning was. But in 2004, I ended up voting for Bush because we were, weapons of mass destruction and all, and wanted to stay the course. In 2008 and in 2012, I voted for Obama twice. In 2016, I didn't vote. I did not. I was like, you know what? I'm out. I
can understand that. Yeah, I'm pretty much on that path right now at this point. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, man.
Yeah. I will say that in 2020, I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Biden. I had not decided who I was going to vote for today. As far as my political affiliation, I'm a registered independent. I have none. I have none. I've been so off put by the presidential candidates. I mean, really going back to 2016. I don't even know what to think. But all I'm saying is, it's not like we don't know that presidential candidates are the prime targets for this kind of a thing. People with mental illnesses oftentimes have these ideas of grandeur, and they target, these people in big positions, and who bigger than the president or presidential candidates or people in the public consciousness. I'm sure in your studies or in your evals, you've probably ran into people with similar thoughts. I can recall one client of mine who I was representing, literally, he was found to be not competent to stand trial. The problem with that was the DA really didn't want to keep him in jail anymore. All he had to do was take a plea, to plead guilty, whatever, credit for time served, and he would have been released. But they wouldn't allow him to do it because they found him not competent to enter into a plea because of his mental illness. And so he was literally being held at the prison in the mental health facility.
Yeah.
And I would go and I would talk to this guy for hours and hours and hours over in the jail facility where he was housed. And this guy, to get him to focus on just one topic was just such a,
Oh man. Yeah.
oh, what do I even do here? Like, he would just have these ideas of grandeur and,
Mhm.
these conspiracies, and there was like secret speakers in the walls. And it's like, no, look, this is an attorney room. There's nobody listening. They can't, it's
Yeah.
illegal. But I could hear it. Like there's things buzzing here and there. And this guy refused to take his medication. It's like, I will not take
Oh no.
government medications is one of those. It's like,
Did he have to take them?
um,
I feel like there's a certain point where if you are like legally incompetent, they can make you take them. I don't know. Do you know if he took them or?
yeah, they at some point, he wasn't, well, I think he got to that point once, but they weren't forcing the medications on him.
Okay.
And he kept on asking for evaluations, mental health evaluations, to see
Oh
if these
god.
meds were necessary. He
Mhm.
really needed them, though. He really needed them.
Yeah.
And at some point, I think his family convinced him to get on the medications. And as soon as it did, like within a week, he was out.
Yeah.
He was done. It was that quick. But
Mhm.
he prolonged his jail stay by probably a good 18 months going through that nonsense. And I
Mhm.
was at my wit's end. But there was times when he was talking about the president and this and that. And, where did that even come up? I don't know, but it was on his mind.
We had, and this is like a year or two ago, and it's not something that ever came up in the news or anything like that. But the Secret Service did call our local police and have somebody arrested because he was, and he was brought to our hospital because he was making threats to a governor, I think it was, and he was like saying he was going to like kill the guy or whatever. And I don't remember which manner he said he was going to do it, and I probably couldn't, say that, but yeah, he had to come in, and he really believed everything he was saying. He thought he was fine, and you could tell like he was a smart guy. He just like wasn't taking care of himself the way he was supposed to. So he like had this idea in his head that it was like totally okay for him to say that, and he was totally justified and all this stuff. And
Oh,
then we
yeah,
had
they have weird inspirations and justifications for sure.
yeah, we had another guy, and this is several years ago now, and he broke onto, or like he not didn't break onto, but he got to the property somehow. And Kanye wasn't there, but he got to Kanye's ranch, and he was like convinced that Kanye and him were like BFFs, and all this crazy stuff's gone through his head. Um, and he's like a really smart guy, but he didn't take care of himself. He did a lot of drugs, and he messed up his brain, and it sucks. But like the people who are doing stuff like this, they really believe that they are like justified in some way, or like they really believe that it's like part of their life story. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that or it's
crazy.
like divine intervention, like there's some
Yeah.
divine figure that must carry out their
Hmm.
plot.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I
He
have
was
to
a young
welcome to
kid.
the stage, this particular lady, What's the Obsession? Her name is Kelly. She has a very successful channel on YouTube, some 50,000 plus subscribers. She's been around for a really long time, and she wanted to, well, I asked her to join in on the discussion. I'm going to be doing some shows on the Idaho 4 with her in the near future, but I got to welcome to the stage Kelly from What's the Obsession. How are you doing, Kelly? How you been?
Awesome.
Hey, Kelly, you're on stage. Everybody could hear you. I don't know if she could hear me or not.
I don't know either.
Oh, I don't know if there's audio issues.
Wait, I'm sorry. I've got your YouTube playing in the background.
Oh, there you go. She can hear.
There we go.
Yeah. How you been, Kelly?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Yeah,
good.
we've been going into this whole discussion about. Well, here's
I've
my
been
theory.
listening to you guys.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to have you here. Your audio is a little bit muffled. I don't know if that's a.
I'm just having some. Okay.
Yeah, you sound like you're in a fishbowl underwater.
Having so many troubles tonight. Let's see here. Is that any better? Nope, I got it.
Oh, you
You
sounded
talk
better.
amongst yourselves. I'll fix this. Just a second.
All right, just give me the signal. I'm gonna mute you for now. Okay. All right. Yeah. So my whole opinion about this, with all of these known assassination attempts, it just boggles my mind. Especially in light of the JFK. I mean, I don't know how well versed you are in JFK assassination conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
I've heard everything, from, he was literally shot from the tower, or it was a Secret Service, it was an accident. There's all kinds of theories out there about what it is, and it didn't help to know that there were cover-ups. You couldn't even get these documents until years and years later.
Right.
And so it's not like the government doesn't have a vast history of not only being involved in these assassination attempts, but perhaps maybe carrying them out. If you go back to the 60s, JFK was in 63. You had Malcolm X in 1965. The FBI was very involved in the wiretapping of his telephones and investigating him for various things. They did the same thing to Martin Luther King. They did the same thing to Bobby Kennedy. All three of those folks were assassinated. MLK was 67. I think Bobby Kennedy was 68. Bobby Kennedy was about to run and become perhaps the Democratic candidate for presidency at the time. Obviously, that ended up happening. All of this going on in the 60s. We're quiet for another 60 years. And now here we are in 2024. And here's what I'm picturing. You have Donald Trump, a guy who is unequivocally taking over the Republican political party. Whether or not you're Republican, whether or not you're not a Republican, it's hard to deny that there used to be like this whole slew of potential Republican presidential candidates. Every single one. It's like Donald Trump just like went one-on-one with them and then made fun of their wives or made fun of their appearance or made fun of their weight or made fun of their whatever ideologies and just took them out. Took them out by the power of his political skill, by the power of his political will. And they haven't had a good answer for him ever since. He's the nominee in 2016. In 2020, they couldn't get him to not come. Oh, maybe Kelly's back. I think she's good now.
I hope so.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's way better.
So
Okay.
Kelly, I promised you that this wasn't going to be a political show, and it's really not. And so my whole opinion and premise in talking about this is to discuss whether or not Donald Trump and his assassination attempts was allowed to happen by the Secret Service.
Well,
Now,
and
let
hi,
me-
Lauren. How are you doing? I don't know if I
Hey.
met you before. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Too, by the way. So we have something a little in common, I think, career-wise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Kelly, tell everybody what you do. A little bit about you if they don't know who you are.
Okay, so my name's Kelly. I'm the creator of the channel What's the Obsession that covers all kinds of true crime cases. And I'm a behavioral therapist. So we always, oftentimes take the angle of always, justice for the victims and looking at the relationship dynamics and kind of the social elements that create crime. So that's kind of what my channel is all about.
Yeah, and so I promised you that we weren't going to make this a political show, and I was not going to ask you your political affiliations. I wasn't going to state mine, or certainly not Lauren's or anybody else.
Well, I have to tell you that I voted exactly the way you did over the past several elections, Omar, including the last one.
Whatever you want to make of that. Kind of all over the place with the way that I voted. I just kind of my other point, and I'll talk about it later on the show, is what an indictment it is in American politics, where it used to be the case. I remember presidential debates from like the 90s, 92, when it was like Bill Clinton, Ross Perot, or not Bill Clinton. It was like George W. Bush or his dad, George Bush, Ross Perot. Who was the other one? It was like a 3-party race or something like that. And they would have like these distinguished, educated political debates, and they were talking about the issues. And then I just watched the debate not too long ago, maybe a few weeks ago, and I didn't understand a word that either one of them were saying. It's like, I'm so disheartened by this. Like, what are we even talking about right now? And then it's turned to this thing where I feel like Americans vote off of emotion. And now you have this galvanized group of individuals who are, as the results of the assassination attempt against Mr. Trump, that it doesn't matter what happens in the debates. Their minds are set. They're going to stand with Mr. Trump. They're going to fight with him. And that iconic image that was taken in the moments after he stood up as he's being escorted away by the Secret Service with blood streaming down his face, that iconic image is going to be the defining image of the 2024 presidential debates and the election. And I feel like it's almost in the bag. I feel it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. I feel like it's going to be so hard to overcome that for whoever is the candidate, Biden or somebody else, Kamala Harris or somebody else, if they decide to drop out of the race. I don't know, man. But
well, it's a snapshot of like victory and him,
Yeah.
rising up even after he was shot in the ear, and he wanted to make sure that the audience was okay. And all the commentary I've heard about it is just this upstanding man, this tough cookie. Oh, Donald Trump, like kudos to him. It says all these great things about his character and his person, and I think that's exactly how it's going to be seen.
Yeah. Now juxtapose that against the incumbent president, Joe Biden. Regardless of what you think about
shuffling along.
Yeah, right.
Look, man, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not a doctor. It just
You don't
feels
have to be a doctor in this case to see that something's not right.
medical issues going on. There might be something wrong. Dementia, Parkinson's. I don't know, man. But you juxtapose that over the image of Trump, who's literally playing golf every day and like standing with his fist in the bloodied face, the wounded warrior coming to save America. I have no doubt that is going to be something like his campaign slogan going forward. It's going to be difficult to overcome. So my whole premise has been based on this idea that it's been since March 30th of 1981. Ronald Reagan. I was an infant. I was maybe 6 months old at the time, but Ronald Reagan, who returned to his limousine after speaking at the Washington Hilton Hotel when John Hinckley Jr. of Ardmore, Oklahoma, you remember that guy? He fires 6 gunshots towards the president, striking him and 3 others. Reagan was seriously wounded by a bullet that ricocheted off the side of the presidential limousine and hit him in the left underarm, breaking a rib, puncturing a lung, causing serious internal bleeding. He was close to death. Upon arriving at George Washington University Hospital, he was stabilized in the emergency room, underwent emergency exploratory surgery. He recovers and was released, and the rest was history. That was really the most significant presidential assassination attempt that we've had until just recently, a few days ago, on the 13th, with Mr. Trump.
And that lends to the question. I was like texting you about this a little while ago, Omar, and if I have these facts wrong, you can let me know. I was just like looking up some information about what all went down right before this, so I could hopefully speak, as well informed as possible. And apparently, where the shooter was that made the attempt on Donald Trump's life was outside of the range of the Secret Service coverage. Now, if you're in gunshot range, how can that be? I mean, how did this even come to be in the first place? Like, that's the most critical question, like in my mind right now,
All right. I just outlined before you came on, like a dozen different recent assassination plots of Donald Trump, of Barack Obama, of recent presidential candidates, political candidates that were uncovered before anything ever happened. Even Donald Trump back in 2017, there was some guy that tried to flip over his limousine with a forklift, and it was foiled.
I heard that.
Yeah, and most of these attempts are known well in advance. And my understanding of it is that the Secret Service was aware of plots to take out Trump in advance of what just happened. Matter of fact, this article just comes out. This is what it says. U.S. authorities obtained intelligence from a human source in recent weeks on a plot by Iran to try to assassinate Donald Trump, a development that led to the Secret Service increasing security around the former president. Multiple people briefed. There's no indication that Matthew Crooks, the would-be assassin who attempted to kill the former president on Saturday, was connected to the plot, which isn't even the point. The point is that they are well aware that there are going to be attempts to take out Trump. Apparently, the Iranians had designs on doing exactly that. They say that they were increasing security measures as a result. And you have Trump speaking at an open-air outdoor rally. It cannot be the case that your security perimeter is only 150 yards long.
Yeah, do we remember the grassy knoll?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
I mean, really though. I mean, it was very much like seemed like that kind of distance, that kind of like atmosphere almost, right?
Well, I don't think that there's very many people, and I don't know. Look, I don't have an opinion about whether or not JFK was a conspiracy by the Secret Service to take him out or not. I just know it looks really effing suspicious that the guy, that you couldn't get your hands on the official documents, that they were doctored and changed, and you have differing accounts of very vital statistics. And there's, I've heard everything from there was a Secret Service member that accidentally fired off his gun to, the guy on the grassy knoll to somebody in the building. Look, It's been 60 years. It's been well examined. All I'm saying is there are marksmen out there that can take out a target over a mile long. That's 5,200 feet.
I don't think a outdoor venue at this point is going to be a good idea at any place. Yeah.
If you can take an AR-15 sniper, whatever style rifle and hit a target from a mile away, that's 5,280 feet away. 150 feet, you're talking about something like 300, 450 feet away, literally 90% closer than that. Such that this kid who was sitting on a rooftop that was, like highlighter white.
Right.
And it's not like he was camouflaged. He wasn't even dressed in white. He stood out like a highlighted word in a paragraph of ordinary words. There was people that had pointed him out prior to the shooting, like minutes before, that were trying to alert law enforcement to his presence. And it appeared to me that the two snipers that were positioned behind Trump appear to be looking directly at Crooks, where the bullet had come from, and had them in his sights. And you hear the first gunshot, and I don't know if he shot off his gun one or two times, but it was definitely, he shot first, obviously. And then right after that, you see, there's multiple shots going his way, and they took him out, which tells me a couple of things. Number one, they knew where he was at immediately, enough to get a beat on him and take an effective shot. Number two, I can't help but think that if they had him sighted up like that, they would have seen him in the prone position, looking down the scope of his rifle. And what were they doing? Like waiting for him to take the shot? They must have been. How could you argue otherwise? Look, regardless of what your affiliation is politically or otherwise, how could you reason to me, given those circumstances, given the close proximity of the security perimeter, where he was at, that ordinary folks were already pointing him out to everybody else, he was able to get off an effective shot, and seconds later, maybe not even seconds later, a split second later after he fires that shot, then they took him out.
Yeah, Winks pointed this out in the comments, but I saw something about this earlier too. I didn't know how accurate it was, but that they had him in their sights for like a good 2 or 3 minutes before the shots went off.
That's my point.
And they were told to stand down. So yeah.
Now, did you show any footage of this at all during the stream yet, Omar?
I haven't.
I have something loaded. I have something loaded up here. It's just like 2 minutes. If you want to allow it on the screen, I don't know if you want to do that or not.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Just from the wall.
Advised, just be aware.
Yeah, your discretion is advised.
Make sure we take back the White House.
2 Secret Service sniper teams could be seen on rooftops behind former President Donald Trump less than 2 minutes before gunfire erupted at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday. They appear to be getting into position facing the direction of the gunman who authorities say fired the shots that grazed former President Trump.
Look what happened.
Trump said a bullet struck him in the ear. Here's how the attack unfolded. President Trump was speaking from a stage located here.
Yep.
The suspected gunman.
Technical difficulties. I think that we might have lost Kelly. But yeah, did you see how rapid those gunshots went off? And if it's really true that they were told to stand down, who told them to stand down?
Yeah. I like never believe conspiracy theories pretty much, and I feel like there's always an explanation, and I want to go with that explanation. And right now, I'm just kind of like, what is?
Sorry about that. I do not know what's going on with this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what's going on today. It's like Friday the 13th over here at my house.
Or Monday the 16th.
Or Monday the 16th.
Is today Monday?
I don't know.
I thought it was Tuesday.
Lauren, I'm with you. I've never been one for conspiracy.
Oh, it is Tuesday. I'm not crazy. It's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday, yeah.
It just feels like Monday because I've been in court all day, and I'm just and it's like 110 degrees out here, and it's like
it is so hot. It is so hot.
But Lauren, to your point, I'm not one for conspiracies either. But I came up with my own conspiracy I'm connect the dots, man. I saw where the guy was on the
Mhm.
roof. You saw Kelly just play that footage.
Right.
That roof was neon freaking white, man. There's no way they didn't know where he was. They were literally looking at him. They had him sighted in their scopes, and you heard
Mhm.
those gunshots rattle off one right after the other. It's not like they were looking for where the shots came from. Their response was immediate. It makes no logical sense. If you were protecting not even the president, just some random person,
Right.
that you would see somebody in the prone position with an AR rifle pointed at you, looking through the scope, that you would stand down under any circumstance. There's no effing way.
Mhm.
If you're the Secret Service, if you see a gun in their possession and somebody like that, you're taking the shot immediately.
I mean, there were cops closer to them, right? That they pointed out to the cops that somebody was up
That-
there. Could nobody have done anything that was closer at that point, so they didn't even have to snipe them? Like,
I'm sure they could have. If somebody was telling them to stand down, that tells me a couple things. Everybody knew that guy was on the roof.
mhm.
Everybody knew. Their entire security team knew that he was on the roof. Those Secret Service people were not looking in that direction for just no reason. They were looking in that direction because they knew he was there. And they
So what do you
allowed
think
him to
happened?
take the shot. What was that?
What do you think happened?
I think now look, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I think that the Secret Service was willing to let that guy get off one shot before they took action. That's what I think. And if it wasn't for Trump in a split second turning his head this way, it wouldn't have been his right ear. He would have got clipped in the back of the dome, and that would have been lights out forever. And we would be scrambling to find a new candidate to represent the Republican Party. It was going to change the entire course of history. That one last split second turn of the head changed that bullet from entering the back of his skull to grazing his upper right ear. That's how it came.
It's almost like that many things can't go wrong with that level of skilled marksmanship, and all of the people that are protecting the president are the most skilled in their respective areas. Like, how can all of that go wrong?
There is nothing that happens within a mile of a political speaker speaking outdoors that the Secret Service doesn't know about. There's just no way that the security checkpoint would have only been 150 yards. No, look, I've heard a lot of politicians saying we must hold these people accountable. And normally, so they're going to try to get on their political bandstand to try to make it, the big speech and gain points, whatever political points. But hey, yeah, WTF, man. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen if they didn't want it to happen? If they were really in the business of protecting Donald Trump, that guy would have never got on the roof. He would have never made it on the roof. And their actual security perimeter would not have been 150 yards. It would have been 5,280 feet.
Right.
I don't know how many yards that is, but it would have. That's the normal security perimeter. It's at least a mile. At least a mile.
Yeah.
150 yards. You could see
Like
somebody.
you said, there's snipers that could pull that shot off from a mile away. So that's how
Easily.
that's how far it has to be. So then the question would be, then if that were how it went down, as you just described, who would be behind it? Would it be somebody from the opposing political party? Would it be an anti-MAGA kind of person, or somebody with a personal or political agenda?
Well, here's my question for you, Kelly. It doesn't make much sense for the Republicans to want to take out Trump because he's leading in all the polls.
Right.
And Biden is like on this self-destructive tour of trying to prove to everybody that he's healthy. And it's obvious that
the geriatric presidency. Yeah.
I'm not dropping out of this race. I'm going to fight. And then his wife is saying stuff like, I know how he looks on stage, but behind closed doors, he's the smartest man I know. Give me a break.
Well, when he ran, he said it was going to be a one-term presidency, one-term run for him. Isn't that what he promised?
That's not what he ever promised. That's what people were hoping, but I never heard that come out of Biden's mouth.
Okay.
But that's what I think everybody thought. It's like, okay, this guy's really old. And even back then, it was such a struggle. Now, look, he had his moments back in 2019 when he was doing his debates. They would jam him up with Adderall or whatever. And he would get up on stage and be able to hold his own for a couple of hours, at least to take out or be able to debate with Trump. But
Sure.
now, I mean, the guy just, look, 4 years in office, ages just about everybody, except for, think about all of the before and afters of presidents that you've ever seen, what they look like when they took office, and then 4 years later.
Right.
Barack Obama turned real gray, real fast.
I remember
Right.
that.
He was like a healthy looking 40-something-year-old when he took office. And then when he left, he was like completely white-haired. George Bush just looked like a befuddled old man. Going back to Bill Clinton, he aged significantly. Everybody aged except for, I mean, hell, Donald Trump kind of looks the same. I will say this, he looked a lot younger in 2016. But, you know, from 16 to 20, he didn't look all that different. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know the reasons for that. Maybe it's his hair. Maybe he's got good makeup people. All I'm saying is it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Republicans to want to take him out. And it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Democrats to want to take him out either. Why would they do something to galvanize the Republican fan base like that when they already have a candidate that's suffering in the polls? If you ever wanted to find a way to galvanize a voter base that what really wasn't all that into Trump, well, now everybody that wasn't going to vote before, they sure as hell going to vote now. That's just the way that human, I mean, I know that I don't have the professional credentials to say this, but I feel like that's the way human beings work. When they get motivated to do something emotionally, they will do it, even if it defies logic.
Omar, pull up what I'm presenting of the Obama just after one term picture.
Yes.
After one term, right? Yeah.
Damn.
It's like a before and after of me when I went to law school. And then after, I got all of these grades when I became a lawyer. That's just how that works.
Yeah, but when you're in your 40s, that's dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty dramatic. Mm-hmm.
So then and what do you think, Lauren, as you're, talking about all of the eliminating kind of all of these groups that would be behind it, if we were going to go this conspiracy theorist route, although none of us are conspiracy theorists, we all agree on that, then who would it be? Would it be a foreign entity? So going down the conspiracy route, that's really just what's kind of like tripping me up is like, who would it be? Where they could feel so certain the outcome would be such a way that it would be in their favor.
I don't know. That's why I'm so confused, I think, right now. I don't know. And especially who's going to use like that kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he's just completely random almost. And he was from like an hour away. He worked like a regular job at a store or something. I can't remember what it was, but like who's going to pick that kid? Like, yeah, his parents had guns or whatever, and he used his dad's gun, but like, I don't know. Like that's just so random to me. And
He was just a kid, man.
He was what?
He was just a kid. He was
Yeah,
just a kid.
Kids like 18 to 20-year-olds, 18 to 22-year-olds especially, they're going to change their mind a lot. Like I changed my voter registration so many times, and a lot of times it had nothing to do with the presidential election. So it's like, I don't know. So it's really hard to say. For me, I'm stumped, I think.
I remember voting when I was 20 years old. I voted for Al Gore. I don't know why I voted for Al Gore. I was like, I don't know. Bill Clinton was the guy. VP sounds like a good choice, I guess.
President Gore sounds like a cool name, I guess. Yeah.
George Bush sucks. I don't know why. He just does. And then I voted for George Bush in 2004. And so, I mean, I don't know what my reasons were at 20. I just know I changed my mind a lot. I was raised as a Republican, and then I voted Democrat, and then I voted Republican again. I was like, you know what? The hell with this. I'm independent now. I have no political party. I'm the political party of me.
Yeah, I'm a registered independent. Yeah.
Yes. So this is what they know so far. So in the 48 hours before he opened fire on former President Donald Trump, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks made a series of stops in and around his suburban Pittsburgh hometown, Pennsylvania, which was leaning blue. But he's a registered Republican. So on February, he went to a shooting range where he was a member, practiced firing. A law enforcement official told CNN the next morning, Crooks went to a Home Depot where he bought a 5-foot ladder and a gun store where he purchased 50 rounds of ammunition. Then Crooks drove his Hyundai Sonata about an hour north, joining thousands of people from around the region who flocked to Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He parks the car outside the rally with an improvised explosive device hidden in the trunk that was wired to a transmitter that he carried. And investigators believe that he used his newly bought ladder to scale a nearby building and open fire on the president, former president.
5-foot ladder?
He bought a ladder. Yeah, that's how he got
carried a
on the roof.
ladder in there. Yeah.
5-foot ladder did it?
He's about as ubiquitous as you get if you're trying to, keep under wraps. So as investigators continue to search for a motive behind the attempted assassination, they're scrutinizing Crooks' movements before the attack and trying to piece together a timeline of his actions leading up to it. Yet nearly 48 hours after the shooting, investigators are struck by the lack of leads they're finding about Crooks' mindset and possible motives. Even after successfully breaking into his phone and searching his computer, scouring his search history and bedroom, and interviewing his family and friends, agents still haven't found evidence that would suggest political or ideological impetus for the shooting. Instead, the evidence they have found appears to show a typical online activities, including interest in computer coding and gaming. He was a dork, man. He was just a dorky 20-year-old kid. He's, a sweet kid. Like, you saw a video of his high school graduation from a couple of years ago. My daughter recently graduated high school. He could have been one of them. He seemed like a regular kid. And all of the stuff that they've uncovered after looking at all of his stuff suggests that he was just a 20-year-old kid. So in a sign that his attack could have been more destructive, Crooks had a remote control detonator on his body, and his car's trunk contained a metal box of explosives that was connected with wires to a receiver. That just doesn't make a lot of sense, man. I don't know what to make of it. So
especially they're not finding any evidence. He even had looked up how to make explosives and stuff like that, and they're not seeing anything in his phone and all that shit. So it's just if somebody say people are saying Secret Service, right? So if Secret Service set this kid up as the shooter, then why didn't they do a better job of creating a backstory with the explosives and stuff like that? So that doesn't really make sense to me.
Anything they want, yeah.
Yeah. So either this kid, I don't know, either he's set up or he was using burner phones or something to communicate about all this stuff, which again, I don't know how well that would track. I don't know. There's just something's missing. Something's missing there.
Well, because initially I was going to say, think about the motivation for, I don't know, I was just thinking of Columbine for the school shootings. It's not that there's any, there's usually not some grand statement. It's usually that they want infamy for themselves, right? And so I was thinking, okay, well, maybe that could explain why it's this 20-year-old kid. But what Lauren just said is a really good point. They would find some additional backstory of researching how to pull off all of these things that he was trying to do, because a 20-year-old just doesn't know how to do all that, right? So
you got to remember Oswald, the Secret Service and the FBI, if they're trying to set somebody up, it's kind of learned their lesson when they're trying to create a backstory for Oswald that's been picked apart and taken apart for 60 years. Much better than not leave a backstory that could be picked apart and just say, I don't know, the guy just effing lost his mind.
Yeah, I don't think it just doesn't track that he lost his mind, though, because there are no signs of that. His family says there are no signs of that. Nobody's coming out and being yeah, he seemed really off. You know what I mean? There's just nothing to point to that.
Yeah, if somebody's coming undone to that point, you're going to see indicators of it beforehand.
That's what I was going to ask you guys, but if I'm making the arguments, it's a lot easier to argue against a backstory than to have just completely nothing. Because you're not going to be able to deny the fact that he was not on that rooftop and that he didn't take that shot. He 100% did. And so anybody that just doesn't want to play the game where we're gonna play backstories here, we're just gonna say that, I don't know what to tell you, man. The guy just lost his mind. He was a 20-year-old kid. He wanted to make a name for himself, and he took the shot. And hey, what are you gonna do? Life's hard. Wear a helmet.
But then there's going to be commentary on it, and there's going to be people like Lauren and myself who are going to say, well, people that lose their minds don't just lose their minds. There's always some kind of sign of it beforehand. It doesn't literally come out of the clear blue sky. So then that would be a whole lot of backlash to that, lack of a backstory,
If he thought he was some kind of psychotic crusader, then he would have left a fucking note or something, you know what I mean? I'm doing this for it's just or whatever, you know what I mean? They would have some sort of rationalization, and yeah. They're not that quiet about it usually.
So I have a theory. If this was if this was a conspiracy by the Secret Service to do something, I have a theory. Before I do that, K-Rob, thank you so much for the 5. Says, I'm absolutely not a conspiracy nut, but I'm bothered by the fact that this kid is in BlackRock commercial. His high school was funded by BlackRock.
Can you guys tell me what that is? I don't know.
I was going to ask the same thing. I'm not sure what the significance of BlackRock
Isn't
is.
it a YouTube channel?
BlackRock
yeah.
commercial?
Well, no.
I'm not sure what BlackRock commercial means.
I'm looking it up here. It's an insurance company.
Yeah, so I'm not a conspiracy nut, but I'm bothered by the fact that this kid is in BlackRock commercial. His high school is funded by so he was in a commercial, I guess.
Oh wow! Oh, I got that commercial. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, do it. Pull it up.
Oh wait, maybe it's just an article. But
Oh.
do you want me to pull up the article and read the article?
Yeah, why not?
Here, I'll bring it into the stream so you have a visual here.
In the meantime, hear me out with thank you so much for the 5. Says it's not a conspiracy, it's complacency. Here's the theory. I want you guys to speak to this. Conspiracies make people feel false control versus confronting real world dangers. God bless.
I think I understand the thought process, yeah, for sure. But it's just like conspiracies in my mind. Like I said, I'm not really a conspiracy type person. I don't usually believe conspiracy theories. In this case, I would think it's making me feel like things are kind of spiraling out of control. But I don't know if I feel control.
I'm not the type to talk about politics. I certainly have never used my channel to talk about politics, but I felt it remiss to ignore all of this is going on because of the angst that I feel about what WTF is going on in America right now. And I'm completely with hear me out about, conspiracies and complacency. I feel that. But my immediate instinct when trying to connect the dots was, oh, come on, man. Bullshit. This has to be a conspiracy. There's no way it makes sense that the security was this bad on accident. This was on purpose. Go ahead. You were going to read something, Kelly?
Yeah, you want to pull into the stream so they have like the visual, or I can just read either way.
I forget that
I'm being the director here. Oh, so we get to see ads. That's great. Okay. Investment giant BlackRock is pulling an ad that included Thomas Crooks, a gunman who shot at Donald Trump, injuring the former president and killing an attendee at a rally nearby Pittsburgh on Saturday. Let me scroll down. In 2022, we ran an ad featuring a teacher from Bethel Park High School in which several unpaid students briefly appeared in the background, including Mr. Thomas Matthew Crooks. A spokesperson for the company said on Sunday, "We will make all video footage available to the appropriate authorities, and we have removed the video from circulation out of respect for the victims." It goes on to say, the 30-second video focused on a teacher at a high school with Crooks sitting in class. The video went viral on X and other social media platforms Sunday. BlackRock said the assassination attempt on former President Trump was abhorrent and is thankful that he wasn't seriously injured. As our leadership team communicated to colleagues last night, BlackRock strongly condemns political violence of any kind, and we will do our part to promote civility and unity in the country, said the company said. BlackRock is a major investor in gun companies, including Strom Ruger and American Outdoor Brand, an owner of Smith & Wesson. In quarterly earnings reported on Monday, the world's largest money manager said its assets under management has swollen to a record $10.6 trillion. There you have it.
Julio with a 10, she says that MK Ultra is now big pharma. She's just saying. Wow, Lauren, your keyboard is so loud. You got one of those like mechanical keyboard, like the gamer keyboard?
No, but here, I'll make it louder for you.
It's like, who is thumping in my earphones? Oh, it's
Yeah.
Lauren.
Yeah, that's me. Here,
Julio
let me
said,
I'll do this.
Ultra. MK Ultra is now big pharma. She's just saying, if you're not aware of who MK Ultra is, it was a secret program conducted by the U.S. the CIA in the 50s and 60s. A program aimed to harness the potential of psychedelics and hypnosis. Some would argue they created Charles Manson, for example, under some of these experiments, and other mind-altering techniques to create a super spy who could withstand torture and extract information from enemies. MK Ultra involved experiments on unwitting human subjects, including the use of LSD, electroshock therapy, and sensory deprivation. The program was eventually shut down in the 70s due to concerns over ethics and legality. And, you know, MK Ultra was a thing. K-Rob wanted to chime in that, and thanks K-Rob for the 10, that BlackRock provides paramilitary personnel all over the world. They also provide video insurance, invest in schools, investments. The commercial has been removed. Yeah. Paramilitary personnel all over the world. So that kind of ties into my amateurish conspiracy theory. So here's my thoughts. What would it take for myself as a 20-year-old kid to try to take out the president? Somebody would have to get a hold of me and promise me like millions of dollars for my family and assurances that I wouldn't be prosecuted or taken out or whatever. And if I was 20 years old, I might be dumb enough to believe it. Like this kid was. He literally bought himself a ladder, climbs up on it. He doesn't make any efforts to conceal himself.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're reading into those images, those two snipers behind Trump, they're literally looking right at him. Maybe they were looking at him, he was looking at them, and then maybe it gave him some thoughts that maybe he was safe. He takes the shot. As soon as he takes the shot, oh, the hell, this guy, boom, and then they took him out. And it was instant. They did not miss. They didn't miss. They had him sighted up from the beginning. Like, I think it was maybe one or two shots in that guy where he was laying on the roof is where he died. They had him sighted up. There was not any question that they knew exactly where he was, and they did what they did. That's just how it went. Hear Me Out says, Lauren, it's easier for some people to believe it has to be an entire security conspiracy versus a 20-year-old nobody so easily almost succeeding.
And that's something like exactly like what I would say in any other scenario. And I think I totally understand the viewpoint. I'm not like putting anybody down for feeling like, okay, I don't believe that it's a conspiracy, you know. But at this point in time, I'm just kind of like, I don't see it any other way. Like, this doesn't make any sense at all. So,
Kelly, what do you think about that statement? What do you think about this statement that maybe it's just a misguided 20-year-old that really nobody was looking at, and he almost succeeded in altering the course of history? What do you think about that?
What I say about that is something, and I talk about this on my channel a lot, like indicators of, you know, a lot of true crime situations, we see indicators of individuals or families or some kind of unit that were headed towards a state of crisis. And like, I like there to be something teachable in there, and it's to, you know, be able to observe and identify indicators for yourself or the people around you, your family members. If someone or a family unit is headed towards a state of crisis, and there's always clear indicators. I mean, this is what the data shows. Like, I'm a big pie charts person, and this is what the pie chart show, you know? So in absence, like Lauren was alluding to earlier, so I think correctly, you know, in absence of any indicators showing that this is a person that was headed in towards some kind of a crisis, it's really just not believable to me.
So what would you have been looking for somebody that was going to do something like this? Like, what would have been the red flags?
It would have been, you know, some sort of marked instability. I guess it would depend on what their history is. You know, it would be a divergence from what they're normally doing. You'd see like a movement away from their normal baseline behavior, probably in a negative, something that was getting attention in a negative way. Maybe, you know, becoming more violent, you know, threatening to harm themselves, threatening to harm other people, having a, you know, all of a sudden relationships becoming like coming undone, just something that is, you know, is a leap from the norm that shows like this person is not in their typical, like their right mind right now.
Well, speaking to what you just said, there's this video that just came out yesterday about some people that knew this kid. Tell me what you think about this video, because it kind of speaks to what you're saying. How do I share my screen like this? Trump. Okay, share screen.
Go to present.
There we go. All right.
Classes in high school? No, I didn't have any classes with him. My only interactions with him were just seeing him in school, and then he was bullied, sat alone at lunch. Did we actually let this happen? Insane. I mean, this is where I live. I never thought this would be going on in a town that I grew up in my whole life. Well, I was actually at Bethel Sheets last night. Bethel Park Sheets, the one right down the road. and we were just like, people were coming in, and we just heard it. Like, people were talking about it, like, yo, this kid's from Bethel, like, and that's how we all learned. Then we started seeing pictures online of him, and we're like, wow, this is insane.
Like he kind of stood out as a bit of a loner.
Yeah.
Was that ever anything that might have been worrying to you, or might have rang any alarm bells?
I mean, yeah, but that's not something you want to think about. Like that, you don't want to have that first thought in your head, like, he's a little off. Is he gonna do something? Like, you don't. So it's kind of just pushed to the back of your head.
So there's a couple things that I think about when I hear that. I mean, number one, I hear bullying, I hear loner, and I have like my dad instincts that kick in, and it's like, I don't know, man. I want to take this kid to like a baseball game or something, and show him life.
Lots of kids who like eat lunch alone at school, or they're bullied. Like most of them don't go do something like this, so I'm a little hesitant to just like pile on unless like more people or more information were to come out and kind of verify that. And that's just me, because like I said, I don't usually jump into the conspiracies. Like if we're gonna say like the Secret Service, like something was going on there, then there's like all this stuff that you have to point to get me to be like, okay, yeah. So if somebody's gonna say like this kid was like bullied and he, was given the school shooter vibe or whatever, then like you're gonna have to show me something more than like one person saying something like that. Especially because I read somewhere that he like had friends and was like a normal guy. So I don't know. Like there's conflicting information there. Obviously, that guy, if he actually went to school with him, even though they didn't have any classes together, I can't totally say that's not the case. I'm just saying, like, I still question that.
What do you think about that, Kelly?
Yeah, I was going to say that it'll be interesting to see what people have to say in upcoming days. As more people are speaking out, as more people, because probably a lot of, especially young people around them, they're probably kind of like in a state of shock. This is national news. Maybe they don't know they can speak out. They don't know how to speak out. They don't want to speak out. They're just really kind of just trying to absorb this themselves. But in, retrospection, it's going to be interesting to see what people say in successive days to come.
My thought is, who would want to take out Trump? It seems to me when you have, Trump, for whatever you want to think about him, whether or not he's likable or not, he took over an entire political party in ways that are really unprecedented. If you remember, do you remember some of these people? Marco Rubio, remember when that guy was going to be a thing? Yeah. Ted Cruz. He was going to be a thing, and then Donald Trump basically just made fun of his wife and made.
They were all formidable opponents.
Yeah, John Kasich was like a guy, and then but standing up next to a charismatic Donald Trump was just like an afterthought.
I forgot about John Kasich. If that explains.
He was like no, you're good. Ben Carson was.
I was apologizing to John.
Oh, well, I mean. John Case, he really is an afterthought, man. I was about to make him an afterthought right now. I was like, oh yeah, John Case is that guy. Moving on. He's really like just straight up bland oatmeal without butter and seasoning.
Yes.
Kind of missed that. A lot.
Jeb Bush, do you remember that guy? He was supposed to be the incumbent, like the heir to the. He was a Bush.
He was a Bush. It was you should have in the bag.
Jim Gilmore, how about him? Jim Gilmore, I doubt that many people even know who he is anymore.
No idea.
But at one point in 2016, he was a viable presidential candidate. Chris Christie, you remember him? He was going to be a major candidate, and he was primed to make a run in 2016, and then Trump called him fat. And then after that, it was, he just kind of fell off. Carly Fiorina, you remember her?
Yeah.
He was going to be like the big Republican female candidate that was the anti-Sarah Palin, and she just never worked out. Rick Santorum, Rand Paul, Mike Huckabee, George Pataki, Lindsey Graham was going to make a run. Remember him when they were like him and Trump were like mortal enemies, and then at the end of it, Lindsey Graham was like his best friend.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to ride his coattails, or I'm just going to be an afterthought. I don't even know where Lindsey Graham is nowadays. Bobby Jindal, Scott Walker was a guy. Rick Perry at some point was somebody. Trump took every single one of these candidates down one by one. Nobody wanted Trump around when he won the nomination in 2016 because he was such an outsider. He did not know how to play the game, and he wasn't going to play it by their rules. And that was that for the people that voted for Trump, that was his appeal. And when they tried to get him out of office, every time they did, they fell lower down on the totem pole to become basically afterthoughts, to the point where if you wanted to be a serious contender for the Republican nomination for president, you had to act like Trump. And then that's how you got, who's the Florida guy? The Florida guy that was going to be the serious contender. What's his name?
Rick Santorum? No, he was Pennsylvania.
We're talking about
The guy that's like the mayor, the governor of Florida. What's his name? Who am I thinking
Ron
of?
DeSantis.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis? Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget his name a lot because I try to he's not here.
Ron
So-
DeSantis is just like Donald Trump, except he's actually smart. He's actually a politician, and Trump kicked his ass. And so it's like the Republicans are like, so now what are we going to do? We can't get rid of this guy. I guess in light of that, maybe it sort of makes sense that, I don't know. I can't even get the words out of my mouth. It doesn't actually make sense. It doesn't make sense that the Republicans are trying to take out Donald Trump because he's such like the middle train ticket right now. The Democrats, I kind of get it, not really. I don't know. Maybe they're right. Maybe it really is the case that we just have this 20-year-old wayward kid who was bullied and a loner that wanted to become famous for something, and he took it upon himself to change the course of history, and he came within a couple centimeters of accomplishing his goal. My only problem with that is that the logical side of me will not allow me to dismiss the security deficiencies
Right.
that just don't make any sense. 150-yard security perimeter? Are you kidding? In an outdoor venue where Trump was going to be speaking in the open air, where there was literally a roof right there, where you had two snipers have their eyes on the target and somebody was telling them to stand down. My logical brain will not allow me to dismiss those facts.
I agree.
That's all. Maybe it wasn't maybe it wasn't a conspiracy. Maybe the Secret Service was really just that dumb. I just can't believe it. It doesn't make any logical sense. Julie O says, and thank you so much, Julie, with the 10. She says, 10 years of Hitler, threat to democracy, Yahtzee, dictator, racist, etc. And we wonder why extremists crop up. Come on, man. MSM wanted this. MSM. Biden said, get him in the bullseye 5 days. I don't know how much I know that Biden said the bullseye thing. I don't think that the Democrats had anything to do with it. I just don't believe that. I see no evidence for that. There's no chance. Look, the worst thing that could have happened to the Democrats if they had any hope of getting Biden across the finish line for his second term is to have something like this galvanize the Trump fan base to the point where, oh, we're definitely in it now. And then now you're getting everybody to rally around Trump, and we're definitely getting them nominated. People that didn't like Trump before or were on the fence about him now, you've seen it. Like post assassination attempt, the polls are starting to rise for Trump and fall for Biden. It makes no sense for any politician on the Democratic side to try to do something like this to Trump. It makes zero sense. Zero
Well, even
sense.
even if the assassin had been successful, it's like you're already struggling, and now you want to rally the opposing party to be like, "Oh my God, it was totally like what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna point the finger at you, and then be like, we have to do whatever we can to stop, Joe Biden from getting back in office or whatever." So like, it just backfires.
I will say this: who would have been the Republican candidate to replace Trump?
Fuck if I know.
You just went through a whole laundry list of names that were like the mainstays of the Republican Party. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the point. I mean, if it was successful, I guess maybe the country's going with the known rather than the unknown. I don't know, man, but that's a wild card. I don't trust wild cards. I'm not much of a betting man. But hey,
You're a chess player.
I'm a chess player. I don't gamble. I weigh all the pros and cons, and I know all of the threats before I make my next move.
Yeah.
And I set up my moves in such a way that I account for those things. I don't like the unknown. I don't like moving into the dark. That's when you become tilted, hence the tilted lawyer.
That's right.
Making moves based on emotion as opposed to logic. I don't know. My logic tells me this was a failed conspiracy to set up a 20-year-old kid to take down Trump. It's funny. I can't bring myself to believe that this kid just out of the blue, even if he was bullied and a loner or whatever, in the style of, the Columbine kids, just decided to take it upon himself and do this. It just make me believe it. Kelly, Lauren, make me believe that this kid acted alone without anybody's help, without anybody allowing him to be on that roof, without anybody allowing him to take that shot. Help me, make me believe that he did this all by himself.
I can't possibly do that unless it's a whole bunch of, cluster Fs with some of the most, skilled people in what they're supposed to be doing and, in the world to protect a presidential candidate, former president. I can't convince you.
I'll change. I'll if like something credible comes out that like makes sense to me, I'm open to changing my mind. It's just not the case right now.
Yeah.
Good statement.
Julio says at least Kennedy finally got protection. Which Kennedy are we talking about? Because there's been 2 assassinated Kennedys.
Robert Kennedy, I think, Jr.
Is that supposed to be the joke? Is that the joke? What are we doing here?
I think it's Robert Kennedy Jr. He's running on an independent ticket.
Yeah. And man, gosh.
RFK, yeah.
He was supposed to be like the big up and coming star for the Democrats, and he got pushed out by all accounts, to the point that he had to decide to run independent then if he wanted a real shot at it. But everybody knows if you go independent, then you don't really have a shot, because we live in a binary political system. And what does that say about the American political landscape, that we are still in this system, I don't know, what, 200 years later? Jesus.
The binary is only a little bit older than the candidates at this point. So
what's
we want to live our prosperity and happiness as a country. That's what it says to me.
If you were Republicans back in the 1800s, the mid 1800s, they would resemble the Democratic Party of today. Like, the parties have literally existed for that long, and they've almost flipped ideologies. And so it's hilarious to me. I'm not sure how invested people actually are into the political ideologies. I'm not even sure if people could recite to you what the initial foundational remnants of what it meant to be a Democrat back in when it was first formed, back in, or what it meant to be a Democrat way back when. Teddy Roosevelt was the closest back in, I think, 1916. He was the closest who ever came to defeating the binary political landscape in America. He ran on like the Bear Party or something like that. And he got like, I don't know, 20% of the vote. I'm reciting from memory, and my memory's probably bad. But that, even then, they tried to assassinate him back in 1916, and they failed. They hit his speech, and he finished his speech. I was before he came on, Kelly, I was talking about him a little bit, as far as the failed assassination attempts. So I don't know, folks. I don't know what to make of this attempt on Trump's life. I can tell you, as an American citizen, I have a lot of people overseas that listen to my show in Australia and in the UK. And I wonder what their opinion is of our politics when they see this kind of stuff going on. I don't know what to tell them, except I can't make sense of it either. I was already disappointed in the American political landscape before all of this happened. And here's what I know. I'm 43 years old. Here's what I know is going to happen. I could bet money on it. Trump is going to be elected the president, not on his political merit, not on any of his political views. It's going to be on the sheer emotional accolades of being the survivor of a failed assassination attempt, and that bitchin' ass picture that they're going to have, that they're going to use, where he's raising his fist, blood dripping off of his face. They're going to look at him as a savior, and people that don't know any better are going to vote for him. He's a martyr. Not even a martyr. He's a failed martyr.
Right.
They're not going to be able to recite to you what his stance is on immigration. They're not going to be able to cite to you what his stance is on healthcare. They're not going to be able to cite his opinions on international economics. They're going to vote for him on the strength of their emotional state of something that was born on July 13th. And that's how the 24 presidential election is going to be decided. And I'm calling it right now on July 16th.
Well, I fear that you're right. And the reason that is a fear is because that is not what we should be, that is not the criteria upon which we should be choosing our leaders. And that truly is frightening. because, we're putting all of the power of our futures, of our well-beings, of the direction of our country, our children in the hands of this person, essentially because of the way our political system is structured. And so that truly is terrifying.
I mean, you go back to the first televised presidential debate. I think it was Kennedy versus Nixon. And that was the first time where we got this idea, because before that, it was all about your political ideas. And JFK came in there with his ideas and Richard Nixon came in with his. And it might have been the case that Nixon had better ideas than JFK, but come to find out that people started voting for JFK because he looked younger and more attractive than a frumpy looking, old looking, hair receding Richard Nixon at the time. And JFK won in a landslide. And then they took him out. And then, of course, you had Lyndon Johnson. And then eventually Nixon got the cues that you can't wear suits that don't fit. You can't look like that on national television. And we began this whole odyssey, going into the 80s with Reagan, with all of his charisma. Even though he was an actor, he still had political acumen. He still made political points. He was funny and he was charismatic, but he made his political points, and we made our political decisions on who we're going to vote for based at least somewhat on politics. Then you get to the 90s, and you had Bush going up against Perot, going up against that other guy. You had that 3-tiered race. You had Bill Clinton with the saxophone, and you had all of this stuff. But still, even then, I mean, what your political positions, what your political stances were on specific issues mattered. Going back to 2004 to 2008, I mean, 2004 is all about weapons of massive destruction, 9/11, all that kind of stuff. Then in 2008, you got Barack Obama, who is by far, in a way, the most charismatic presidential candidate we've ever had in our history. You can't really do much better than Barack Obama in terms of charisma. I don't care about his politics, but the way that the guy spoke, the way that he presented, you could not unpolish Barack Obama. You couldn't. He could tell you that your family member died and still look smooth doing it. He's like the Denzel Washington of candidates. 2008, 2012, even back then you had Mitt Romney was a guy. The other guy that I really liked, if it wasn't for Barack Obama, I would have voted for him. Who was he? The 2008 presidential candidate. Palin was his VP.
It was Mitt Romney.
No, that was 12.
Oh.
Romney was 12. 08 was
somebody's gonna know.
He was a POW at one point.
Oh, Cheney. No,
he
was
Cheney.
Yeah, no.
No,
I don't know.
He passed away like in 2018 or so. I would have voted for him in 2008 if it wasn't for Barack. Is my point.
John McCain?
Okay.
Is that really
McCain is the guy.
Oh yeah, that's what I had in my head. Yes. When I said Cheney. Yeah, McCain.
John McCain. I loved that guy, man. I loved that guy.
Seems like a good man.
And he was the guy where he had that lady that was like, Barack Obama's like this Muslim name. He's like, no, we're not going to do that. All right. He's not a Muslim. Yeah. He is a decent family guy. And, it was like this, he had some decorum to him. Some civility to him, some humanness to him. I thought that he would have probably been a really good president. But Barack Obama outshined him. I would have voted for him in 2008. I would have voted for him in 2016 if he was a candidate. He passed away a couple of years after that. He had brain cancer. And then you have Trump basically rewriting the entire script. I completely wrote Trump off at every turn. I thought that any one of the presidential nominees that I listed before in that list, I don't care who it was, the McCains, the Mitt Romneys, he was a guy. Some presidential candidate was going to overtake him because Trump was this outsider. He didn't know what he was talking about. But son of a bitch, he won the nomination in 2016, and then he took down Hillary. He just did. He took her down. And it wasn't really on the strength. I can't really judge that. I don't know why people voted for him in 2016 over Hillary. They really hated Hillary.
Yeah.
And if I were
to say that's why.
How Hillary, how Trump got in office is just because they really didn't like Hillary. And they just, F it, we're going to vote for the new guy. And then, they got tired of it after 4 years. We get Biden into office, and now he looks like he's on his way out. because he's just old. He's got dementia. He's got Parkinson's. He's got something. And now Trump comes back in. I don't even know what platform he's running on nowadays. I really don't. Is it still easy? I don't know if he's still trying to build a wall. I don't know. I mean, I've heard a lot of Biden. He's the worst president we've ever had. It's a lot of the typical Trump rhetoric. I don't know what his political stances are on anything. I don't know what his positions are on all of the major issues, but he's going to get reelected.
Yep.
Especially now because of the galvanization of what occurs when you try to assassinate people, somebody that public maybe might have been on the fence of, that has a really deep base, because people that love Trump really love Trump.
Yeah, they do.
He is like a cult leader. He could have led a cult. People that love Trump will die for that man.
Yeah.
You got a base that loves him that much, and you got a lot of people on the fringe, and they're all going to coalesce as a result of this calamity. And that's how the 24 election is going to be decided. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Regardless of your politics, that's what I think is going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about all of that? I know it's a heavy subject matter. I know you all don't like to talk about politics. I normally don't talk about politics. I feel like I'm not even talking about politics on the show. I
don't think you are. And I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said right there. And I'm going to have to jump down because I've got a live stream starting in just a few minutes. But thank you so much for having me up here. And nice meeting you, Lauren. And I'm sorry to leave the party early.
No, you're good, Kelly. Hey, for all you guys, I'm about to sign off pretty soon anyway. As soon as you're done with my stream, go check out Kelly's stream. What's your show going to be about, Kelly?
It is about, it was the old Chris and Shanann Watts house, and there was a crime that happened in that house, and like all of the police records are out now, so we're going to go over that and just like the eerie history of the house. And then you're coming on Friday night, right?
We're going to be talking about the Idaho 4.
Talking about the Idaho case. Guys, we're going to have an actual real freaking lawyer. How amazing is that? We've always wanted that, and now we're going to have it. It's like Christmas morning at Omar's place.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
You guys are doing that on Friday, right?
Yes.
Okay, you guys remember that today is Tuesday, right?
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Because we might be going on the wrong day if it weren't for this woman right here. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Kelly. I really appreciate
I'll talk to you soon. Nice meeting you, Lauren.
You too. Bye.
All right, Lauren. I'm about to wrap up here as well. We've been going for about an hour and a half. But,
I gotta record some stuff for before tomorrow. It's 9:30 here already, so it's late.
Oh yeah, I had to make up. I have to make up going on your show, because last time I was on your live, I was like driving in wine country.
It was still good. It was still good. But yeah, one of these days soon. I don't really know when, because this week I don't really have anything planned. But I'm just kind of winging it. But I'll let you know definitely next time I do something.
I feel like I've been winging it for like a few months now. It's just the nature of things. I used to be very organized and planned out with how I conduct my shows, but since I've been doing these live streams every day, there's only so much planning you could do.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, hey folks, go check out Lauren's stream. You don't have any lives coming up anytime soon?
Maybe on Thursday, or it'll be Thursday or Saturday. I'm not sure which one yet. Like the only reason I would do anything tomorrow is if something comes up, but like I don't plan on it.
You got to play that word game you do, the charades or whatever.
Yeah, it's a Quiplash.
Quiplash. Yeah, I wanted to play that one. I tried to get into it like a month ago when I was barbecuing. It's like, wow, that looks like so much fun, but I got to cook.
Yeah. No, we'll do it again. I'll let you know when we do.
All right, Lauren. Well, we're going to be signing out for all you folks. Go check out Lauren's channel. Go check out Kelly's live stream right now. And we will see you guys next time. We will definitely be doing a live stream on Friday. We may or may not be doing a live stream tomorrow about new developments in the Karen Reed case. But we will see. All right, folks.
All right.
Thanks. All right, Lauren. You take care. Thanks for coming on.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.